He's opinionated. He's unapologetic. He's always real. He is Brett Mason. This is the Brett Mason Show.
And welcome into another Let Freedom Ring. Liberty is the best thing that was ever invented. We need more of it edition of the Brett Mason Show podcast. It is your weekly Liberty Report. The good thing about the Liberty Report of the Brett Mason podcast is that with every passing week, my job doing the podcast should get easier because there's less and less liberty. So at some point, I won't even do a podcast because we'll have zero liberty. And so doing a Liberty Report will be kind of counterintuitive. If you're listening and have subscribed via podcast, and there's many ways you can listen to us, so whether you're listening from iTunes, you caught us on Stitcher, maybe you're listening on the TuneIn app, or maybe you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, or maybe you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, hello, allow me to give a hat tip to you. And a special hello to everybody who has downloaded our free iOS or Android app. Both of those are available, no matter which phone that you have. All you have to do is look in your corresponding app store marketplace and search for the Brett Mason Show. If you search for the Brett Mason Show, you will find us. And if you would just like a web page where you could just go see all the options and just click a button and go to the one that applies to you that makes you the happiest, we've made that easy for you. Just go to brett-mason.com/connect. Remember, there's a little hyphen in there in the middle. brett-mason.com/connect. And all the many ways that you can connect with us are there. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast again. Last week, I was very happy with my controlled ability to remain calm, my ability to not scream and yell quite so much. I think I only used the word douchebag once, so that's an improvement. And I can tell you this, though, the listenership for the podcast was way down. Matter of fact, I think it was maybe a half or something. So, I come from a long radio background, so I've learned that once you have an audience and your audience grows, and our audience has been growing here since we started the Brett Mason podcast, you super serve that audience. So whatever it is that your audience likes, that's what you give them. That's really a rule of anything in life. And so allow me to give you some, before we get to the meat and potatoes of the podcast, which I assure you will be very good today. Just some general life tips. You have a business, maybe you're thinking about going into radio or whatever aspect of avenue you're pursuing in life. There's an old adage that we tried to use it in radio for a while, and then management and ownership beat us down into sad, horribly depressed people. But before that happened, we had an adage that was make their day. And so our goal in life in radio was to make people's day. If you were a listener, we wanted to make your day every day. And that would apply to any area of business. And one of the ways you do that is you give the customer, or in the case of radio, the listener, or in the case of the podcast, the person listening or downloading, you give them what it is that they want, what it is that they want. And Fox News has made this work. They have their core group of people who want to be fed the Republican propaganda red meat, and that's what they toss at them daily, regardless of whether it's factual or not. And CNN is more in the middle. I think it skews a little bit to the left, but I'm going to tell you, CNN isn't nearly the left-wing propaganda machine that Fox News and Republicans claim it is. I way prefer it over Fox News, and I way prefer it over MSNBC or some other channels like that. But MSNBC is one of those channels that they knew what their hyper-liberal audience wanted, and they just chunked it at them regardless of facts. Facts are secondary. Let's give the audience what they want. I say all this because, one, it's good rules for you to know to live by. Maybe you're trying to pursue some dream. You're trying to pursue some career. Maybe you're wanting to start your own business. Those are just good general rules. You give your audience or give your customer what it is that they want, you'll be successful. And that's what everybody does. But it also ties into our podcast a little bit today. So we have a couple things to talk about on the podcast. First, I'm just going to talk about a company who's just stupid. And they're from Florida. Some of the stupidest stories ever come out of Florida. If you're a listener in Florida, I'm sure you're a really intelligent individual. I have no doubt about that. But it just seems like the worst stories ever come out of Florida for whatever reason. So we'll be talking about that coming up in just a little bit. But first I want to talk about this, the Iran nuclear deal, negotiations and things that happened with John Kerry. on our behalf over in Iran, dealing with those fruitcakes over there. And, after a long time, they did strike a deal. And this isn't something that just happened. This is something that's been off and on in the talks for years, really. And all we've been hearing now for probably, well, I know it was since before Barack Obama took office. And especially once he took office, which we're coming up on, 7 years ago or something like that, was how Iran has got nukes. They're just going to nuke the hell out of everybody. We should all start building nuclear bunkers and just living in them, really. Let's go ahead and stock up on your freeze-dried food and go down into the bunker because it's just a matter of time. When in reality, that they just aren't able to make a bomb. They haven't been able to for a long time. And even Israel, who Netanyahu gave a presentation with he had a little chart and a graph and predicted when he think that, even he said that, they didn't have capability yet, and he tried to project how long he thought it would be or whatever. And so the Republicans have been using this since Obama was elected, but really in the election, the first election and the second one, and all during the sky's falling. Iran is they're going to nuke everybody. The United States is going to be a barren wasteland of sand and radiation. And boy, I tell you, the Republicans, and look, if you're a Republican, I'm just going to be sorry if any of this insults you, but I don't pull punches. So if you believe some of the stupid stuff that's said and some of the lies that are said, it is stupid, and you have the choice whether you believe it or do your own research, or whether you just buy whatever Rush Limbaugh tells you, or whatever Glenn Beck tells you. And sure, they'll provide research for you. But they provide what backs up their side of the argument. That's just the way it works. If you don't understand it, I'm really sorry that you don't understand that. I just really am. Before you, slam your headphones down or throw your computer or however you're listening to the podcast across the room and discuss, know that I once was a diehard Republican who fed daily at the teat of Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and all those, hyper Republican people. I slowly made my way to a more reasonable and logical point of view, and I did that by research. I did it by what I started doing was every time they said something, I would go research and learn as much as I could about it on my own. And what I found was that 90% of the time when I did that, I would find that their story was skewed in favor of the Republican talking points. It was skewed in the favor of what Republicans want, and that was we don't want no gays. We want to bomb countries that we think are a threat, and we want to give quote-unquote tax breaks to the middle class, and we want to help make it easy for businesses to succeed, to give jobs. And if you're a Republican and you are one of those that I see posting all the time that are disgusted by the so-called left liberals giving away entitlements and donations and stuff and to poor people who quote unquote don't work or don't contribute or whatever, it's ironic to me that people can take that line but don't see that Republicans do the exact same thing. But the difference is Republicans give entitlements, tax breaks, freebies to businesses who then use that money to make horrible investments, to make horrible decisions, to further their profits. They don't really use much of it to help the people working for them. They sock away as much of it as they can in tax shelters and in overseas shell corporations. And, one of the most recent estimates I saw is where these so-called American businesses that are just under the heavy weight of taxation. And look, I'm against taxation, and I'll go into that if you need me to prove it. But this is the line: is they're just so we can't tax them. They just can barely function. They're taxed so hard. Oh dear, oh God, how can they even function? And so when you realize that American companies are holding in overseas shell corporations and these blind trust and other weird ways that they move their money around. There's anywhere from $1 trillion to $2 trillion in taxes they should be paying that they just aren't paying. And then if you consider on top of that, while the top tax rate for a corporation is, I think, in the 38% range, 38% range, their effective tax rate after their loopholes, after they shuffle money around, the tax rate they actually pay is lower than what most people pay. And I'm talking, I've seen them in the 14% range, 16%. I mean, I know a lot of people that are just hardworking middle class people. They don't got no deductions. They don't got nothing that they can shuffle around, and they're paying 20%, 22%, 18%, 24%. It just depends. And so the last thing I'll say about that is I really realized that once I really tried to get my personal business like rocking and rolling here in the past couple of years, when I decided I was just done with radio. There was no way that I could do radio here because the people that hate me own all the radio stations in town with the exception of a couple. And I can't leave here because my family's here. My mom's here. My mom needs me. And I need my mom, but my mom needs me. I mean, we are the last two surviving immediate family members, and she has health challenges, and I'm not leaving her. So, I mean, the only reason I could do radio would be to move somewhere else. I mean, they basically run me out of town. I gave them 12 to 15 years of stellar service, and the thanks I was being run out of town. So when I left radio and I was like, I got to make some money, I started doing my own business stuff, and I started realizing all these deductions and all these things that I could take. And so last year, year before last, I really got bombarded on taxes. It was really bad. I mean, I got kicked in the teeth on taxes, but it's because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to deduct, how to deduct, what records to keep, and all this stuff. So my second year, I think my effective tax rate was pretty low. I'm just ballparking it. I don't know. I'd have to pull up the figures, but I know it was pretty low. I think it was lower than 15%. And so I was like, wow. And I just have a little bitty, just a dinky one-man business, and I don't have anything offshore, and I don't, I'm doing business and taking deductions that I can take, and I'm not taking any more than I can take. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, and I can get the rate down to where it's that low. And I'm like, Jesus, what are these big corporations doing? So that being said, I told you I would defend my position on taxes. My position on taxes is that, first of all, no citizen should be paying an income tax. It's unconstitutional. Of course, they changed the Constitution to make it constitutional because they took away the gold standard. They went with a central bank. We have the Federal Reserve that can print money like they can print anything. And so once they started doing that, they had to change the tax system so that the American people could carry that huge burden of all this money printing on their back. And so there came the taxes. But before that, the United States of America got its taxes from tariffs, corporate taxes, and things like that. Your citizen only accepted a couple of times of extreme. One time, I think it was an extreme case of during war, shortly after war, to try to get us back on our feet. We had a short period of taxation. But for the most part, our founders knew that the way you enslave a people is to tax them to death, and that's what our country does now. So let me say, I'm just not pro a lot of taxes. To run a government as big as the government we have now, they have to, though. They have to tax everybody. But I tell you who takes the brunt of it. It's the people. It's not companies. Companies are not taking the brunt of the taxes. And the Republicans will lie to you, and the Republicans will fool you. Meanwhile, they're taking money under the table. They're taking their inside knowledge to invest and place their money here and get really rich. Then they're also taking their many corporation contributions to campaigns and their campaign funds and their PAC funds to get them reelected, and the cycle continues. And if you think that that's not happening, and you don't think that that's what Republicans are doing, you're just fooled. You've been fooled. You're blinded. And with all due respect, and I use the word ignorance a lot, and a lot of people think it's insulting. Being ignorant is not an insulting term. It just means you don't know what you should know yet. You don't have the knowledge that you should have. You are ignorant of the knowledge. Stupid is derogatory. Saying you're an idiot is derogatory. I don't say those things, but ignorance is something that happens a lot. Ignorance is something that can be fixed, but you have to decide to fix it. You have to decide that I'm going to go do the research and understand it. Now, well, you sound like one of those darned liberals now. Well, no, I'm not, because the Democrats do the same thing. The Democrats do the exact same thing. They may, if anything, they're worse than Republicans in the fact that they also do the corporate stuff that the Republicans do, and then they also favor and vote in and pass all these entitlements as well. So they're doing it from both ends. I guess Republicans could only slightly be better, but let me tell you, they're both evil. They're both horrible. So I'm a libertarian. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about today. I'm going to talk about this debacle with Iran. Now, look, it's been like, a year ago or something where Netanyahu from Israel laid it out, what they knew. And it was, the taxes the nuclear weapons are coming. They got so many months till this happens, so many months to this. I mean, we're looking like a year till they got a bomb. I think it's been a year since he gave that speech. But, I mean, it was pretty dire. So meanwhile, these negotiations are going on. Now, these Republicans want to get you fired up so that we're going into yet another country, which is so bizarre to me. But we got to go into another country and start bombing them too, or what I've saw after this set of negotiations is, well, they just needed a better deal. That deal was bad. Needed a better deal. Well, look, this deal has halted. If Iran abides by it, but keep in mind, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter if your favorite Republican, you pick who it is that makes you have dreams at night that you think they're so great, went over and negotiated a deal. Iran still has to abide by it. It doesn't matter who negotiates with it. So that's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. That's just we can negotiate the best deal possible. They still have to abide by it. So, that doesn't matter what deal you get. That still applies. So I don't want to hear that argument. That's stupid. And no sense that you're stupid. That argument is stupid. That argument applies one set of rules and requirements to one party that doesn't apply to the other one, when really it would apply to no matter who negotiated the deal. But so they did negotiate this deal. It's at least puts off any nuclear thing from Iran for at least 10 years, maybe further, but at least 10 years. We agreed to give them some money. We were already giving them money in case nobody knew that. We give all those people over there money. Don't even get me started on Saudi Arabia, who's one of the biggest terrorist states there is, and we just give them droves of money. So people are losing their mind over that. Look, we're not giving them any more money than we're giving all the other terrorist nations over there. We give it all of them. So don't get your panties in a wad over Iran. That's part of the deal. We're giving them money anyway. So it's maybe a net change of a little bit, but it's not a total change. I don't know what the number was, 100 billion or something like that. Am I for giving money? No, we shouldn't give money to any other nations. We don't have any money, but we already do. So, how much are 520-year-old Marines' lives worth? Would they be worth 100 billion? I guarantee if one of them was your kids, his life would be worth 100 billion. So if we can keep Marines and infantry and Army, all that stuff, Air Force from going in over there and potentially losing lives, as much as I'm against giving them money, $100 billion is a small price to pay. There's also things in place to go over and do inspections. I understand that there's a negotiation process for that. There's a process in place. But all of these Republicans immediately took to the floor and was talking about, this deal is horrible. Man, this deal is just horrible. We need a better deal. We just need a better deal. And one of the funniest moments of the week for me was when this reporter asked Mitch McConnell, so you keep talking about you want a better deal. What would your better deal include? What Mitch McConnell, what is it that you would hope to get out of this better deal that you keep talking about? So Mitch McConnell, in his infinite Republican wisdom, said, well, a perfect deal would be one in which Iran could acquire nuclear weapons. That's the deal they negotiated. That's the deal they made. That deal's already been made. Does anybody understand that? Now, I understand if you listen to the Republican talking heads, if you listen to the mouthpieces of the Republican Party, and make no mistake about it, Rush Limbaugh is not on your side. Rush Limbaugh is in it first to make gobs and gobs of money, and secondarily, he's there for access and influence within the Republican Party. So he toes the line with them, and secondarily, he incites people to listen more to make more money. That's just what he does. All of them do that. And if you think that it trips me out when I hear people call the Rush Limbaugh show and go, Rush, I just want to thank you for everything that you do for our country. Rush Limbaugh isn't doing anything for the country. That's Rush Limbaugh's job. Rush Limbaugh has figured out how to manipulate Republican conservative voters. He's figured out how to stir up their emotions. He's figured out how to feed them red meat so that they can't resist tuning in every day. And he's done it to the tune of a whatever it is, $100 million career, whatever it is. It's some insane number. So if you think he's some great patriot, you're just, again, you've bought into the hype. You've just bought into some hype that isn't true. You've allowed yourself to be fooled. Wake up. So we have this agreement in place now. From my point of view, negotiating, trying to get the best that we could after really years, but then months, and then here recently weeks of all of this going on. This is the deal that we were able to arrive at. So this is the deal we have. Why would we not try to implement this deal, enforce the parameters of the deal, and see that it works, and use the option of killing people, other people, and our own people getting killed, and increasing hostility? Why would we not implement this and go it a while and see what happens? We still have the same capability to monitor Iran that we've always had, and trust me, I don't care what they feed you, what line of crap they feed you. We know exactly what's happening in Iran. They keep making a big deal about, well, the IAEA can't go in there anytime they want unannounced and check things. It doesn't matter. We've got spies all in Iran that they know every damn thing that's going on over there. That's how we know all this information we know about them. Not because no IAEA had an agreement to go in there and check their nuclear capabilities. No, we have spies in there. We have spies in their own government. We have spies in their own military. We have spies in their own nuclear program. We know what's happening over there. Not to mention our capabilities of satellite and our intelligence operatives and connections that we have. All these things that we have. Trust me, we know what's happening in Iran. So why don't we try peace? Why don't we try not killing people? Why don't we try and see if it works? If after a while we see it's going to hell in a handbasket, we see that they're moving towards a nuclear weapon, we see that our country's in danger, and we see that these things are continuing, in spite of the deal, they're continuing to progress and it's becoming alarming, then we throw the deal out the window. We can throw the deal out the window just like they can throw it out the window. It's not like we're bound to it no matter what happens. It's not like they could suddenly create a bunch of nuclear bombs, fly over the United States of America, drop them on Minneapolis, Minnesota, fly away, and we'd be standing here going, we couldn't have done nothing because he had that agreement with Iran. No, the agreement would be out the freaking window. See, I've raised my voice again, and it's starting to hurt. And I was just going to try not to do that. People, please. We live in one of the most glorious times in the history of the world. My devout, really gung-ho Christian friends, when you read your Old Testament Bible about things that happened then, keep in mind that there were no books then. Like one guy in a 100-mile radius would have one copy of a part of the Bible that somebody had transcribed. Everything else they had was from memory. Everything else they had was stories passed down from uncles and grandpas and dads and brothers and sisters and cousins. That's how they kept these things alive. They couldn't go Google something. We live in a glorious time where you don't have to be ignorant. You don't have to take Rush Limbaugh's word for something. You don't have to take Mitch McConnell's word for something. You don't have to take Glenn Beck's word for something. You can get on Google and spend 10, 15 minutes Googling something and find out what the truth of it is. Find out what the reality of it is. But do people do it? No. I see people posting crap on Facebook as if it's the gospel. I saw something posted on there the other day that I looked at nicely. It was like, now that can't be true. There's just no way that can be true. I went and Googled it, a matter of fact, it's in my Josh Feuerstein is a Moron podcast. If you go listen to that podcast, if Josh Feuerstein was talking about this guy who was suing to have verses taken out of the Bible and how horrible it was. I went and Googled it. 2 minutes later, I knew that it was a lawsuit that was filed 8 freaking years ago, and it was thrown out on its face. People laughed at it. It never made it past the filing of the clerk of the court. It was just BS. It was, again, people with an agenda. It was Josh Feuerstein trying to get more viewers to his crappy little channel so he could make money from his crappy little channel so he could fleece people that he gets all riled up about stuff that isn't happening. That's the same thing all these guys are doing. They're doing it to you, and you're letting them. You're letting them do it. You're letting them do it. Stop letting them do it. Stop letting people make you look ridiculous. Stop letting people getting you to believe things that aren't true, and then you post it on Facebook and share it, and then all your friends who don't take time to investigate it either, they share it. The next thing you know, it's went all the way around the world and wasn't a damn bit of it true. It happens every day. Every day I can debunk no less than 10 things that I see pop up in my Facebook feed, and I refuse to repost something or share something that I don't go research for myself. So you're saying, well, I don't have time to research it. I don't have time to do that. Well, then just don't share it. Just say, I don't know that this is true. I don't have time to research, so I'm just not going to share it because knowing how Facebook is, it's probably false. And, make a note of it. Hit the save button. In case you didn't know, up the top right-hand corner of like 90% of posts, there's a few kinds of posts that don't have this, but 90% of them do. You can click that little arrow, and it says save this link or save this post till later, and then lay it at night when it's 8:30 and you've washed the dishes and you're laying there in your pajamas with your laptop. Go find that post, do some Googling, and you'll be able to find out all you need to find out about that subject. It sounds like I'm coming down on you, but look, I'm coming down on me from 8-9 years ago, 10 years ago. Because I was the same person. I was a Republican red meat guy. But stuff just didn't quite add up. I noticed that no matter what they said, no matter what they did, no matter who was elected, things continued to go in the same direction. And then I was like, wow. So even when they have a majority, which we've had several times in the House and Senate with the Republican president, even during those times, nothing changed. Things continued to devolve. I remember when I went and researched the national debt and at what rate it increased, starting back with Reagan, because Reagan is the almighty Republican savior. And I actually went and looked at those numbers and saw that over Reagan's term that he actually inflated the national debt at a rate faster than any president since him. And as a matter of fact, the person who did it the lowest was Clinton. And that George Bush's rate of increase in the national debt was actually greater than that of Barack Obama's. It's amazing what you can learn when you go actually Google stuff and look at the facts and figures when you find them. It's just mind-blowing. So that's all I got to say about the Iran deal. We still have one thing to talk about, this company in Florida that's just blowing my mind. That's here next.
Knowledge is sexy. This is the Brett Mason Show.
So I don't know if you saw this story. It came up last week. I saw it posted on Facebook and went and Googled it. This guy who's a toll booth worker in Florida, 77-year-old guy, he apparently, out of the goodness of his heart or whatever, paid a $5 toll for a driver that was coming through. And when interviewed about it, he's been working this for 29 years. He said it's not the first time that he used his own money if a driver didn't have enough cash or if there had been some kind of mistake or something. During this incident that got him terminated, he mistakenly undercharged the driver and he made up the difference himself. Now look, he made the mistake and he's like, dang it, it's my mistake. So he made up the difference with his own money. I was just helping somebody out, he said, for a mistake that he made. Well, it's his money. He did. When in America could you not do stuff with your own money? What I don't understand is if you had a guy in a toll booth, a rich guy, let's say you had a millionaire working a toll booth. He decided he wanted to go work a toll booth. Why would a millionaire do that? I don't know. Well, let's just assume that one did. Now, let's just say he was a generous millionaire, and so he decided to pay the toll for every person that came through there every day. Well, what would be wrong with that? The toll got paid. Isn't that the only thing you should care about at the toll booth is that the toll gets paid? Why do you care any more about that? Why do you care who paid it? Why do you care that this 77-year-old made up the difference? Anyway, they fired him, then booted him out. Screw you, man. You paid somebody's toll. You're out on your butt. 77-year-old guy. Been working at the Boca Grande Causeway for 29 years. I haven't been able to find if he got a retirement. I don't know if he had some kind of 401k. I mean, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I know as a 77-year-old, it's got to be difficult to find a new line of work. I guess Social Security, he's probably eligible for. He can get that. I hope that he's had at least a 401k, or maybe he has a retirement. He got something. I'm hoping for the best for him. But what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? So that's my personal tragedy story of the day, and it wraps up another mediocre podcast from the Brett Mason Show, Liberty Edition. Thank you for listening today, and let freedom ring, y'all.
You can subscribe to the podcast, download the free smartphone app, and find more ways to connect to the show at brett-mason.com/connect.